All right, here we are, Pro Tour Hellscube 8 with the first round of constructed gameplay, round 4 overall. We have Benana versus Zvosher. We've got Benana playing a sideboard control deck, and Zvosher is on a Storm Cascade deck. Benana in essentially mono blue, and Zvosher on black, red, and purple. So this will be certainly interesting. As a reminder, with purple, you still are not allowed to put basic nebulas in your deck. So this will be having to find purple mana in other ways, such as this swirly twirly Bloodstraw that is currently in Zvosher's hand. Looks like Benana going down to 6 but ready to go. So Zvosher starting off with that swirly twirly Bloodstraw into the prized Lotus Tea, excuse me. So looks like next turn we could see a big play. Don't know what's going on with these counters. And also playing the Mox Phyrexian, using the Phyrexian mana. Tapping the Bloodstraw, paying a lot of life to add black and purple. And we might see a turn 1 Destruction Stormskate here. Playing out the Hastikin, removing a haste to add a colorless. Playing out another Hastikin. And removing another colorless. Oh, the orange is the storm count. This is colorless mana, black mana, blue mana. Oh boy. And it looks like we've got just enough here. To activate the Lotus Tea and the Phyrexian Mox for the Destruction Stormskate. I'm assuming that is what we will see. And it doesn't look like there's anything in the hand that Benana can do to counter this, so we'll see what exactly happens. Tapping the Mox Phyrexian, sacrificing itself, paying 2 to tap the Lotus Tea to add 3 black, and then that in the blue to cast Destruction Stormskate. Storm count of 5, so that's 5 Cascade triggers with mana value 4. Awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. Ornithopt, which will determine what the next cascade is. It'll also increase the storm count, but I don't. Well, I guess it's possible to hit another one, so. This is quite the opening turn. Playing the Ornithopter, well, creating the Ornithopter. Not checking the box that says this can stay on the battlefield. Because the Ornithopter does go to your hand. And that also has rebound, so that'll stay in exile for a moment. Or that'll exile itself. And come back later. Storm count is now at 6. We got sell their ass to the dwarves and split the profits. Sideboard target creature, which looks like it's going to be one of the Hastikins. You and that creature's owner each create 2 treasures, so you create 2 treasures. And you each draw a wish sorcery that costs 2 and a purple. Flips another Hastikin off. It looks like, no, that was exiled. But we need to not exile it, but put it into the sideboard. And then getting the wish token. Casting the Ornithopt. Or no, flipping another Ornithopt. Looking at that top card of library. The best thing Zvosher could hit here maybe a grapes, which will create a bunch of essentially treasures, but only for purple, and then something big. I'm not exactly sure. I suppose we shall see. We've got a Haunted Moon. I think, what did I see? Some moving of stuff around. Using a treasure for a blue. Playing the Ornithopter. And we are once again selling their ass to the dwarves and splitting the profit. Oh, so not a blue, but a purple. On the Ornithopter to make more treasures and get another wish. So this deck gets a lot of mana. This is my first time seeing this, so excuse me if I don't know all the lines. Sacking the treasures and one of the Mox Phyrexians. Oh, they've got the wishes so they can play things from their sideboard. So there's some Fibblethip's Lost in Space in there. We'll see. Looks like they are casting one of the wishes, so we'll see what they grab. getting the grapes. We're casting that. So that's going to create 13. I believe grape tokens, which are food tokens that you can tap to sacrifice and add purple. So that's a lot of purple mana available. Casting, they enter lap 2, so they take an extra turn right now. And I'm wondering if they're casting this just in order to draw the 3 cards, plus the card they draw at the start of their turn. So really it's like a draw 4 card spell. I'd assume there's no extra mandatory game, non-mandatory game actions be taking place here. Making those grape tokens, now that there's significantly less of them. We are now entering lap 2, I believe. Yes, restarting their new turn, drawing an Elven Spirit Guide. First main. You could attack with the haste again, get 1 damage in. And then, yeah, that looks like exactly what's happening here. And then going back to the original turn, because it doesn't skip the turn, it just sort of happens in the middle of your turn. Back to main 1. Going to draw 3 cards. Getting a Tire of Fortune, which is a wheel. Another Prize Lotus Tea, that'll increase the storm count. So we're increasing the storm count a lot. There's 1 card in the sideboard which I can't tell what it is, so let me... It's Comet Storm, which I'm assuming is the Windfall, or the Wind Con here. Yes. So we're tapping the Prize Lotus Tea to add red mana, it looks like. And then I think we're probably wishing for Comet Storm now, which is technically non-deterministic. But it'll be rough. Storm count at 17 now. Casting the Tire of Fortune, it looks like, so everyone's gonna auto-zone their hand and then draw 7 cards. Gotta feel bad for Benana here, who it seems like is losing the game on turn 1. But who knows? Again, the combo is technically non-deterministic. The Comet Storm card that I'm referring to costs 4 mana and 2 red mana. So 4 red for a sorcery that says roll a 6-sided die, and it's got Storm. On a 1 or a 2, you can make 2 1/1 green squirrels with haste. On a 3, you return a card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. On a 4 or a 5, you deal 5 damage to a creature or a player. And on a 6, you roll 2 more times. So basically 50% of the time, you do a lot of damage. We do see another sell their ass to the Dwarves. So I'm assuming that I'm going to play out as many storm counts as possible here, and then use the wish from sell their ass to the Dwarves and split the profits to get that Comet Storm. Or just saying, you know what? 18 storm count is enough. I can definitely hit fours, fives, or sixes out of 18 d6 rolls. And yeah, I sure hope so. This is a magnificent way to start off this part of the tournament, I gotta say. Tapping the treasures. We've cast Strict Improvement on the Ornithopter. So the Ornithopter is now Black Lotus. Sacking the Lotus for more mana. This is frankly ridiculous. And I think will definitely lead to some amount of having to rethink the ban list. Five floating mana now. Storm count of 20. Still 2 grapes and a treasure on the board, plus the prized Lotus Tea. This is certainly impressive. Exiling the Elvian Spirit Guide for another purple mana. We've got the Wish, which I'm assuming has been cast. Or is about to be cast. But Benana has a silver bullet here, it looks like. They've got the Force of Femme. This could certainly stop the Comet Storm. And here we see it. Force of Femme. On the Wish. Interesting. I'd have thought you'd have used it on the WinCon, but maybe that's not how Storm works. So maybe you have to use it on the Wish. I don't know if there's enough gas left in the tank. Actually, I think with the Burning Man Emissary, that... Oh, we can use it on the Wish, on the face-down Wish. That's a 3/3. The burnt offering. No, but that also casts 3, so that's a filter, really. But you can use the Head of the Forbidden One to get another Cellar as to the Wards if they have it. Which I'm looking, there are 4 copies in the deck. So yeah, playing one Head of the Forbidden One, discarding the other. Spending a purple mana on Sell Their Ass to the Dwarves, which will then make 2 more treasures. And the wishes. And with the 3 treasures and the lotus, can cast another wish. So, valiant attempt from Benana, but I do think that'll probably be it. Playing another Destruction Stormscade. Interesting. Not what I would have expected. Because I think the Comet Storm just wins you here. But maybe there's something that I'm not seeing. Oh, they just get to cast their entire deck now. Almost. With 27 storm count. So we see the Twisty Nipple Charm. I'm assuming at that point they'll use that to draw the Comet Storm. This is... I know I said this was ridiculous before, but it continues to get even more ridiculous. Getting a Tormod's MTV Crypts, we're just increasing the storm count. Sure. Thraben Unspector. You'll get an Eolk, which, if you discard a card and sacrifice it, makes 2 colorless mana. We're getting a bunch of lands that we can't play. Another Twisty Nipple Charm. Grabbing a head of the Forbidden One. Sure. It looks like another Twisty Nipple Charm. Some lands, and then another Destructed Stormscape. Jeez. Which... Elven Spirit Guide, Burning Man Emissary, goes to the bottom. Haste again. Oh, because Burning Man Emissary has a mana value of 4. So they also won't mill out. Another Elven Spirit Guide. Ornithopt. I admire Benana not conceding here, because I certainly would have by now. Putting the Ornithopter in the back line with the hand. Another Destruction Stormscade, which will go back. Grapes, making 33 grape tokens. Yeah, thankfully just using... This also basically gives them infinite life, too. With their basically infinite mana. Another Ornithopter. Land. Tire of Fortune, everyone gets to draw 7 cards. Maybe Benana finds another interaction piece here. Maybe another Force of Femme or something else. Looking at Benana's deck. There are 4 copies of Force of Femme. Oh, wait. Am I... No, the Tire of Fortune only has a mana value of 3. I see we hit another Grapes. There's a Mox Phyrexian. Sure. Ahead of the Forbidden One. The enters trigger is a May, so not doing that. Here comes the Lotus Tea. Strict Improvement. We're getting another Black Lotus on the Thraben Unspectre, of course. Another Strict Improvement. The Elvian Spirit Guide. Sure, why not? Tire of Fortune. Opting not to cast that, I suppose. Twisty Nipple Charm. Surely here is where we get the the win condition. Yep, here comes Comet Storm. Okay, we do have to resolve the rest of these Stormskade triggers. But I think with 46, it's almost a mathematical certainty. Yeah, we're just shortcutting that to not cast any of them. Casting, using the Black Lotuses for Comet Storm. And that should be game 1. Theoretically, you have to roll... You could roll a lot of 3s. But do please roll 47d6. So we've seen what this deck can... Yeah, there's enough 4s and 5s to deal 2 to 3 times Benana's life total. Yeah. So that'll do it for game 1. We'll see what Benana on the play looks like now, presumably. After some sideboarding. Benana notably is running 4 copies of Cloud Skateboarder, which is a sideboard zone creature. So you can move up to 4 cards from your sideboard into that sideboard. And there's each of them just has 1 copy of Ancient Fibblethip, which when you enter it from your when it enters from your sideboard, excuse me, does draw 5 cards, which is crazy. Looks like Benana ready to go, not making any sideboard changes. Zvosher has unlocked their sideboard, so they might be changing some things around. Um, maybe putting in. I'm not sure. But here we go. Game 2. A decent opening hand for Zvosher, but no Destruction Stormskade. And lands and spells for Benana. I'm not exactly sure what they're looking for. Presumably the Cloudscape Order, which they do have. So it's like a sideboard control toolboxy deck, I think. We've got the instant creature as well. Benana can use that instant creature to pull out some toolbox, a number of cards. We've got CPS, Super Mana Friends featuring Nebula, the Lockheed Martin F-225 Predator flagship, a Serac if Wizards of the Coast weren't cowards, Platinum Sable. Looks like Benana is taking that mulligan though. Grabbing the Force of Femme out of there, which is probably good. This unknown card here is Watergate from Hellscube 6 specifically, which I can tell you is a land that adds blue or a color of a card named with Watergate, because Watergate allows you to once look at an opponent's hand and name a color among the cards in their hand. Benana starting with the Watergate. Having gone down to 5, putting back into the Royal and up twice. Zvosher will be Ornithopting. Scrying 1. And then they draw an Ornithopter. They don't get to draw any card off their deck, but it does have Rebound, which is very nice. It would seem they kept the card on top. Now on their turn, rebounding the Ornithopt. So that's just free Storm Count, because that's 1, and then the 2 Ornithopters are 2 and 3, and then every card in every card pretty much in hand is mana positive for Zvosher. And then they've got the Head of the Forbidden One, which can go and get sell their ass to the Dwarves, which can then get the Destruction Stormskate out of the sideboard. This is certainly something. We've got the Polluted Delta, which we have cycled. For what? I'm not sure. Let me check the deck. We've got Haunted Moon. None ya business. Yeah, grabbing the Haunted Moon. So whenever you tap it for mana, you lose 1 life unless you control a creature with power 4 or greater. But it is a swamp and a nebula, so that does tap for purple. Let's see if they can run away with this one just the same. We do... Benana does have the Force of Femme in hand now. Casting the Head of the Forbidden One. Storm count is at 2. Discarding an Ornithopter. me wonders if you just counter that right there and say, no, you can't go get your combo piece, but there's 6 other cards in hand. One of them's an Ornithopter, but yeah, getting that Cellar Ass to the Dwarves. I guess that's what you force a Fem, really. Benana could tap the Watergate to see what is in the hand, know what to counter, which might not be a bad idea. Could probably hold off on that for as long as possible, though. Thinking happening here. This is obviously a very intensive deck. Passing the turn. Not trying to pop off completely. So, looks like on end step, Benana's going to take a look and see what's in the hand. And there we can see, as well as down here, so I'll close this, what is in Zvosher's hand. The Ornithopter, the Mox Phyrexian, the Strict Improvement, Polluted Delta, Prize Lotus Tea, another Strict Improvement, and that Sell the Rest to the Dwarves. And then it draws their own Polluted Delta. Playing the island. And passing as all of Benana's cards function at instant speed. So you're drawing a second copy of Sell the Rest to the Dwarves and split the profits. Looks like they're swamp cycling their Polluted Delta for Completed Mountain, which enters with a -1/-1 counter on it, and then whenever another creature enters under your control, you have to move that -1/-1 counter onto it. Can easily eat that with the Ornithopter, which is what's going to happen here. Storm count is at 1. Tapping the Completed Mountain. To pay for Mox Phyrexian, it looks like, or maybe, no, paying the life cost. Tapping the Completed Mountain to put a Strict Improvement on the now debuffed Ornithopter. Prized Lotus Tea. Tapping the Hunted Moon. Excuse me. To sell their ass to the Dwarves. And we're not really splitting the profits here, but Jace learns. Sell their ass to the Dwarves is going straight into Jace the Mind Sculptor spellbook, and as we all know, he doesn't know what's going on. It's gone. But there is a second one, which is not known about. Some thinking, debating on whether or not to commit, sacrificing the strict improvement with the Ornithopter. For 3 black mana. Spending that. 3 purple mana. Or maybe blue, but probably purple, because this deck doesn't run any blue cards. So yes, definitely purple. 3 purple mana. Now, it seems like they've decided to commit. So let's see. Yep, using one of those. 2 of those for the Prized Lotus Tea to add 3 black mana. There we go. Probably gonna use the Wish to grab the Deathstruction Stormscade. Selling their ass to the dwarves and splitting the profits. Do we see the Force of Femme come out? We do. Exiling instant creature. So that's now a 1/1. And both players down to 1 card in hand. Certainly not really where either of them want to be, but I think Benana is happy to get to see turn 3. Storm count is 8. Combat swinging with the head of the Forbidden One. And that'll do it for that turn. Island cycling the Polluted Delta. Going to grab the island where Jace goes to lose his memories, which is an island, so it taps for blue. And then also you can pay a blue and tap it to investigate as long as a legendary permanent entered this turn. That can be entered under your control or your opponent's control. Benana then draws the Cloudscape Border. This will provide the hand refresh that Benana needs. Needs to deal combat damage to a player though, so we'll have to stick around to next turn. Zvosher's turn. Draws the Destruction Stormscade, but there's not much to do with it. Putting the Agent Fibblethip in the sideboard that is Cloudscape Border, as was discussed at the beginning of the game. We've got the Destruction Stormscade. You can cast 1 spell, so you can cascade for storm count of 2. That might be enough to get you rolling if you're Zvosher, but certainly would be a gamble. Instead, simply swinging for 2. Benana will gladly take that. Drawing Tide Moon. That would certainly slow down Zvosher. Going to combat though, swinging in with the Cloudscape Border. It does have flying. So now, you may play a card. Here comes Ancient Fibblethip. Being cast from the sideboard. X will equal 5, and Benana will draw 5 cards. That's pretty good. It's not as good when 4 of those cards are lands. But we shall see what happens with this. Agent Fibblethip is a legendary creature, so we could investigate, but seemingly not doing that. Swinging in for another 2 damage. We drew the Lotus Tea, which might be enough. Notably, tapping the creatures means strict improvement cannot go on them to turn them into a Black Lotus that can be used immediately. Benana contemplating blocking, it seems. It does block, taking only 1 off of the Cellar to the Quartz. Drawing a card. Another counterspell. Also a free counterspell. Very good for Benana. Benana now has the means to counter spells, to draw cards. Playing the Tide Moon, that should pretty effectively shut down Zvosher's game plan. Looking at Zvosher's deck, I don't see a single basic land. It is a lot of artifact mana though, so maybe something can happen here. But not as quickly as Zvosher probably wants. With the prized Lotus Tea, they can get out the Destruction Stormskade. Looks like we're gonna go for it. At least playing out the Lotus Tea. Storm count is 1. Tapping the Mox Phyrexian, presumably using it as a Lotus Petal, sacrificing itself. Yep. That'll add black mana for the strict improvement. Tapping the Bloodstraw. And the completed mountain. There comes the Destruction Stormskade. Storm equals 3. Tire of Fortune is probably exactly what Zvosher wants to hit here, honestly. Getting that wheel, drawing 7 cards, not having to discard anything or auto-zone it. It is a question, though. It is a gamble, because Benana, who knows what they have in their hand. And who knows what drawing 7 cards will do for them. But also drawing 7 cards would be very good for Zvosher, obviously. Tapping the Island GX to unflip your Delver. Putting the Tire of Fortune into Zvosher's hand. And then getting to scry 1. That Tire of Fortune is going to be very hard to cast when non-basic lands are islands. Here comes a Hastikin. Thought Sneeze. So Benana revealing their hand. with the Thought Sneeze, choose an online card and they discard it, but they do get a black germ creature token in their hand, which is a 1-mana 1/1. So there goes the Force of Femme, of course. Last Cascade trigger, I believe. Strict Improvement, adding 3 red. That is going to be enough to cast the Tire of Fortune. Tapping the Haystacken as well. And there's nothing much Benana can do about that. Full hand refresh for both players. We do see the Unflips Your Delver and the Mana Auction as castable spells for Benana. And we've got a Burning Man we've got 2 Burning Man Emissaries, a Strict Improvement, 3 Burning Man Emissaries, oh my! The Mox Phyrexian and another Destruction Stormskade. Mox Phyrexian and the Strict Improvement will do it. You can cast a Strict Improvement on your land. Oh no, it is only on creatures. So, not quite enough mana to cast the Stormskade, it seems. Unless I'm missing something. Tapping the Haunted Moon for the Burning Man Emissary. Which you can cast Burnt Offering. And you can also cast the Strict Improvement on the Burning Man. So we're going to unflip your Delver, revealing, putting Psionic Blast, Hazard on top of the library. So that'll put the Burning Man Emissary back in Zvosher's hand. And that will pretty effectively shut down this turn, I think. But definitely a scary turn. It lies ahead with these 2 Destruction Stormskades in hand. But plenty of counter magic available at Benana's disposal. Drawing another Watergate. Looks like Benana Island cycling. Goes to combat, swings with the skateboarder. And that's the turn. Here comes Zvosher. Another Swirly Twirly Bloodstraw, which is really just an island. Don't even worry about it. Believe right? Not basic lands are. Oh, but the island's capped for an additional blue. Okay, that's the part that I was missing here. But yeah, we see the Burning Man Emissary. We get the Burnt Offering. And here comes Into the Royal. It was kicked, so Benana will become the Monarch. Trying again with the Burning Man Emissary. Here comes the Mana Auction. Bidding is at 1. And that Burning Man Emissary will be countered. Storm count is at 2. Combat, swinging in with the Hastikin, taking the Monarchy. Going to end step, drawing a card off the Monarchy. It is ahead of the Forbidden One, which is a tutor, can get that sell their ass to the Dwarves, which I believe. In the graveyard we have one, in exile we have one. So there's two more in the deck. Benana opting twice on end step. Going to be scrying one, drawing a card, scrying another one, and drawing another card. Playing out another Watergate. We've got another Cloudscape order for more hand refresh. And also these flyers slowly ticking away at Zvosher's life total. Down to 8. That'll be the Monarchy again. Second Maze playing out that second Cloudscape order, which has another copy of Agent Fibblethip in it. Zvosher's turn. Paying 2, 4. We trying to cast another Burning Man Emissary? We sure are. Will that resolve? Benana tapping, mana auction, coming down. Looks like that one will go away, but there's a third Burning Man Emissary. Is there a response for that? It doesn't look like it. So finally, the Burnt Offering can go into hand. We are casting Burnt Offering. We're making 2 black mana. Oh, the casting cost. We're making 4 black and or red mana. Using one of them. Oh, I don't know. Tapping the Hastikin to play another Hastikin. To then... Nope. To cast the Strict Improvement on it. This might be the turn that Zvosher gets to pop off, finally. Burnt Offering on the first Hastikin. And now we have some thinking to do. Looks like we're spending all the black mana on something. I'm assuming it's time for Destruction Stormskade. Yep, here we go. Storm count of 6. Off the top, Hastikin. Mox Phyrexian. A lot of fast mana here. Grapes. Now getting to make 8 grape tokens. Helvian Spirit Guide. another. Lotus Tea, which notably can also draw cards. But there's enough mana here to cast the second Destruction Stormskate from hand. Which is what's going to happen here. So now the storm count is 12. And there's the Southern As to the Dwarves. Zvosher hoping, praying that it will resolve, and it does. So say bye-bye, Elvian Spirit Guide. Make some treasures, make a wish. Tire Fortune probably not getting cast here, I would guess. Not wanting to refill Benana's hand. Yep. The Twisty Nipple Charm. What are we grabbing with that? The Comet Storm. Not messing around at this point. Getting to the point. I do want to know if Twisty Nipple Charm, the nebulas conjured, are those basic nebulas? They are. So that is worth considering. Using that mode instead. But in the sideboard, there's also a bunch of tools. Yeah, getting that Fibblethip Lost in Space, which will come out to the battlefield. Ornithopting. Another Twisty Nipple Charm. Could get a second Fibblethip. Getting a Thought Sneeze. Certainly not a bad card to have. Flipping Hat of the Forbidden One. That'll come in. Will they discard? They will not. Getting a Hastikin. And then another Ornithopt. Thraben Unspectre. Trying to see. They still need a way to make one more red mana, it seems, to cast the Comet Storm, if I'm not mistaken. The Black Lotus, the Strict Improvement, that'll do it. Oh, and they've also got a Lotus Tea. So yeah, that will generate enough red mana. Here comes the Comet Storm, presumably. Oh, we've cast another Grapes. Yes, so much mana. Thought Sneeze, just making sure there's nothing left in there. And there's not. 3 lands. Playing out the Head of the Forbidden One to up the storm count, and here's the Comet Storm. Please roll 29d6, and if by some miracle you don't hit 3, 4s, or 5s, or any 6s. You know, they say play to your outs, and sometimes your out is like just winning 29 consecutive 1 and 6s. You know? It's not possible. So, I believe that will do it. Let me just double check. With the players. But certainly a spectacular start to the constructed side of the bracket. Something I don't think any of us were quite expecting. I believe Zvosher was very secretive when setting up this deck, and I can see why. It is certainly a powerhouse. Just gotten confirmation from the players. That'll do it. So thank you all for joining me for this game of Hellscube 8 Pro Tour. And I'll see you in the next one.